Welcome into the Rock Talk Studio, the podcast that turns you on to new rock and roll books and documentaries. My name's Big Rick. I do the watching, I do the reading, and I gladly do all the digging, so you don't have to waste your time or money when it comes to looking for a great new rock and roll book or documentary to check out. And today, it's all about 1 year and what it took for that one band to achieve a level that few have ever reached. Did Kiss win 1976? Here's their competition in terms of record releases. Zeppelin, Physical Graffiti, Eagles, Hotel California, Boston's first album, Ramones' first album, Thin Lizzy's Jailbreak, and AC/DC High Voltage. So the answer to that question is no. No way. But what they did do was launch their career into the stratosphere and change the way that bands and really record companies marketed bands. New book out called Kiss 76 has a really interesting angle to it. It's written by rock and roll veteran Martin Popoff. And when I say veteran, that is no understatement, as Popoff has written the most record reviews of anybody in the history of music. That's crazy. 7,900 of them. That's a pretty cool record to have. Anyways, he lays it right out in the beginning of this book. He says in the prologue, the entirety of the book, Kiss 76, can be seen as a study of what Kiss was up to month to month, along with how important their movements and moments were in relation to whatever else was going on in 1976. So this book just isn't a walkthrough of those 12 pivotal months where Kiss dropped their biggest record, Destroyer, and pretty much locked their status in as one of the greatest live bands in rock and roll. But it also pulls back and it shows you what else was going on in and around them in 1976. And we're talking politics, sports, television, movies. It casts a pretty wide net. And what Popoff does is he uses a running commentary with pictures and memorabilia and things at the bottom of most pages, looking at what Kiss was competing with for people's attention and entertainment dollars. But that in no way overshadows what this book is about and how it's presented. As with most of this publisher's book, it was published by Motor Books. And if you're familiar with them, if you're familiar with the Rock Talk Studio podcast, you've heard me talk about them a bunch of times, and we've done a bunch of sponsorships with them. They put together coffee table style books, but kind of mini coffee table style books, really different approaches. So it's heavy on pictures. They are glossy and hardbound, and they look really, really good. And that's what this book is. I like the concept. It was kind of like a snapshot of what was happening almost day to day with the band. And because it only went through 12 months, that made for a really interesting read. And it was a pivotal time in the band's history. So you could sense things were happening. And it was interesting to watch the growth and what they did to achieve this level. I also like how it looked at how they came off the success of their most popular record at that time, which was that first Kiss Alive record, and how they totally changed direction of their sound with the Destroyer record, and with the help of one guy really who changed their sound, which was their producer, Bob Ezrin at the time. There's a lot of info in here about the Destroyer album, which is probably their most popular album of all time. And it looks at how it was recorded and what it took to get them to trust Ezrin as a producer, as he kind of took the reins and literally changed how they made music. They also released Rock and Roll Over, and that record also gets a deep look. Each album, Destroyer and Rock and Roll Over, gets a song-by-song breakdown, and it creates most of the depth here in this book. I would have liked a little more depth on other subjects, but that really isn't what this book is about. It's more of a picture-dominated read and a snapshot of these 12 months in not hyperspeed, but a pretty quick presentation. Really liked what they did at the end of the book. They did something really cool. They did the 1976 timeline of the band with 45 little thumbnails, so you could actually see almost day to day what they were doing throughout the year. And I like just taking a look at that overall to kind of map their progression and how they were able to achieve this status and what happened to the band and what was going on culturally at the time too. The strength of the book here is in the presentation, no doubt. Just the way it's laid out and with the running commentary about the culture combined with a month-by-month breakdown of how they were taking their career to the next level, what was going on internally, what was going on around them. And at the end of this timeline, you could look back and see how Kiss made this huge jump. And that's really what I enjoyed about this book the most. It was just the way it was presented and the way it read. I would say this is predominantly for Kiss fans only. Rock and roll historians will get a chance to explore this year 76, but Kiss fans are really going to like it. The packaging and time capsule presentation, because of the time explored, probably Kiss at its peak, makes for a pretty decent addition, I would say, to anybody's Kiss collection. Kiss 76 by Martin Popoff is out now. I've got a little bit more about Kiss. I'm going to tell you about that coming up next. Ace Frehley, that's what I'm going to talk to you about. That's what I have for you. When Ace passed last year, there was news of a second memoir that was heavily talked about. He was working on it. There was a few quotes from Ace about what he was doing with it. And at the time, there was mention that it was being put together. No release date as of yet on this book still, but I got a feeling that it's going to come pretty quick. I got to keep my eyes out for anything on this. Ace was such a unique personality. This would be his kind of like second memoir. So it would be a chance to kind of see if he's going to address things towards the end of his career. Interesting what he would have to say about that. If you're looking for more news like this, you can always pick up my free newsletter. It comes out once a month on the last Friday of each month. There's a link in the show notes, whatever your directory, however you're listening to the podcast, has a little blurb about the episode. So there's a link in that blurb, the show notes, that'll give you access to my Substack newsletter. Again, it is free, and that will get you in on everything that I'm up to, including all the book giveaways that I'm doing throughout the year. I just wrapped up probably one of my favorites of all times, a great sponsorship, a great book giveaway of David Gilmour's new book, Luck and Strange, and it was signed by David Gilmour. I actually had 2 copies that I gave away. So if you want to get in on all the book buzz and documentary news, and you want to get in on all the cool giveaways, you can get my free newsletter, The Rock Talk Studio Blast. And speaking of book giveaways, the next one I'm going to be doing is this book actually that I'm talking about today, Kiss 76. So Kiss fans, line up. You can get a copy of this new Kiss 76 books. Just sign up for my newsletter. If you want to sign up for the Kiss giveaway but don't want the newsletter, you can always send me an email. That's in the show notes too. It's info@rocktalkstudio.com. I'm going to be talking about this for the next couple weeks, but the next book giveaway is Kiss 76. Coming up next week, I promised this a few weeks ago when I did the Best Beatles Books and Docs episode. There is a new Paul McCartney and Wings documentary called Band on the Run. I'm going to be getting into that next week. So let's tear it down, pack it up, and head on down the road for this week. I'll catch you next time in the Rock Talk Studio.